Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and I'm an elementary music teacher, and this month my kids are doing a lot of centers and small group and individual work, and because of that I thought it might be fun to just come here and talk about some of the things we're doing, specifically because we're doing a lot of fun things and a lot of like fall-ish themes, which are perfect if you're watching this video in November around Thanksgiving. Or if you're watching it next year and it's, September or October, that's fine too. But we just have a lot of things going on, and I personally love seeing what people are actually doing in their classrooms because I love making videos here on YouTube that share all sorts of different lessons. But the reality is, in the time constraints that we have and all the different things that we have going on, the lessons that I share here, although I do all or at least most of it, don't usually go in the way that I present it here on YouTube. So for example, if I have a song lesson pack, I share the lesson here on YouTube, but usually the actual lesson in my class takes a few days. And I usually kind of take a piece of it and we'll do, 5 or 10 minutes this day and 5 or 10 minutes that day. And so it gets spread out, and it just is a little bit different in reality than it is here. So I thought we would talk about some things that what I'm actually using in my classroom. So I literally went through all my bins and grabbed a whole bunch of stuff that we either just finished using or we're about to use this week. And I thought I would share that here with you just in case you were wondering what we were up to. So for reference, I teach elementary music. I teach pre-K through 5th grade. I'm not sharing what everyone's doing because like right now 2nd grade has a concert next week. So all they're doing right now is prepping for the concert next week. But some of my groups are doing centers and things like that. So I just thought it would be fun to share. So here we are. Sharing. Now, if you enjoy this kind of video and like the real life look, I would encourage you, pause for a fetch moment. Oh my gosh, I just got it in the trash can. Please hold. Oh, she's got it. Okay, we're good. Y'all, I could not have made it into the trash can if I tried. Anyway, if you enjoy this kind of video with like the real what we're actually doing in class, then I would encourage you to follow me over on Instagram. Of course, subscribe here, but on Instagram every morning I share stories, and I typically share something that we're doing that day. So like this morning I shared my 4th grade lesson, and last time I shared my 5th grade lesson, and tomorrow I'll share actually probably 1st grade, but I go through every morning and I share at least something that we're doing that day. So that might be a good thing if you want like that really, really real stuff. The other thing I want you to know is that pretty much everything we're talking about here is something in my TBT shop because I make things, because I use them in class. So I will link everything down below. You obviously don't have to buy any of it, but just in case you see something that you're interested in. Yeah. Okay. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's do oldest to youngest. So my 5th graders this week are doing centers, and they're doing 3 centers. 3 is kind of a magic number with centers. I think we might be able to do 4 maybe this year, but for right now we're just sticking with 3. And my 5th graders are working on triplets and kind of reviewing like meter and measures and that kind of stuff. So the first activity we're doing is Kaboom, which is my all-time favorite, so I'm sure you're not shocked. For this game, you get a bunch of cards. This in particular is the triplet set. You can make them yourself or you can print them out from a TBT shop. I will leave a link down below because it's so much easier. I used to draw them on popsicle sticks, which was fun. So you put them all in a cup. The kids take turns pulling out a card. They read the rhythm. If they get it right, they keep it. If they get it wrong, they put it back. If they get one that says Kaboom on it, then they have to put all their cards back, which is great because that means that the game never ends. So it just keeps going forever. The winner is whoever has the most cards at the end of time, when it's time to clean up centers. Now, one question I get a lot with this is people ask, how do the kids know if they get it right? With any kind of like independent activity, the idea is that you wouldn't be doing them until the kids know how to do them. So we're not doing this until we've already been reading the rhythms enough that I feel confident that they can mostly do them themselves. And then within their group, we talk about how you can like correct people kindly and things like that, and just making sure the groups are good to go. You can also hang out at that center to make sure that we're, doing the right thing, and that's an option as well. But that's number 1 is triplet Kaboom. The second one we're doing is very Thanksgiving, and that is the Thanksgiving dinner game. So this is a really fun meter game where the kids get a plate to add rhythms, and then they take turns pulling out cards. This time they just have one little rhythm with an item for their plate, and so they add the different items to their plate. The idea is that you fill up your plate first without going over. So in this case, we're using the 4-4 and we're doing the 2 measure. There's also 1 measure. There's 2-4, there's 3-4, there's 4-4. I think there might even be 5/4. Don't quote me on that. But there's many different options. Just make sure the kids all have the same one, and then they can add the rhythms to their plate. So some of them have 1 beats, some of them have 2. You can't go over. So if I have 7 beats on my plate and I get a half note with my ham, then I have to wait until everybody else gets a turn until my next turn, which means that somebody else might win before I get to my next turn. There's also a few cards. I don't know if I happen to grab them because I just grabbed a handful of things, but we have green beans, and we have stuffing, and we have pumpkin pie. It's created a lot of really interesting conversations also, I will say. But some of the cards will make you put some of your cards back, and then some of the cards will make you put all of your cards back, which adds just a little bit more fun to the game because, you know, even if you're winning, at some point, you might have to put all your cards back because your dog ate your food. That's what it says. There's like a little picture of a dog. Super cute. Anyway, so that's how you play the Thanksgiving dinner game. This one is super, super fun. What I love on your end is the way that I did it is that each rhythm is on a separate page, which means that if your kids are not using half notes yet, you just don't print out the half note page. And then there's even harder rhythms that I don't have printed out because my kids don't know them. And so you only print out the ones that you need, which is great because then you have, you know, exactly what you need. And you can use that one game with like any grade level essentially. This one's really fun. I've been doing it actually with 5th and 4th grade. And it's been a really great time. They love it. And I get to check that we are all doing meter correctly. I've also seen some people have sent me pictures of their kids doing this one as a craft instead of as a game, which is totally, you know, up to you. You can do whatever you want. And that's really fun too. So if you do them as crafts, definitely send me some pictures because I would love to see them. The third thing that my 5th graders are doing is just doing some composition. So I printed out this page from my rhythm assessments. This is obviously from the 16th note one. They're obviously working on triplets, not 16th notes, but we are using this because I just want to make sure that we all understand meter, beats per measure, that kind of stuff. And so this is one of their centers where they do this. I found it wasn't enough stuff. I've been giving them 8 minutes this time around, and it wasn't enough for them to be occupied for 8 minutes. So after they finished, I let them get some egg shakers and play their rhythms. And then if someone else finished, they could play the other kids' rhythms and stuff like that. But this kind of stuff, even though it seems kind of boring, the kids actually do really like it. They love creating their own music. And I like it because now I have a concrete grade that I can grade and I can put in the grade book and I can send home and their parents can see how they're doing in music, which is always really helpful. So that's a really good thing as well. Now, 4th grade has been doing a couple things. So we have some things we did last week that I'll show you, some things we did this week, but next week I want to make sure that you know we are using our turkey rhythms. So this is a freebie. I will link down below. You can get it completely for free, and you get a turkey and then you add the feathers to make the rhythm. So you have to add the time signature and then whatever rhythms you want. You can add bar lines, you can add double bar lines. All those things are included, although you can just print out whatever you want out of those. So if you want to do it with your little kids and just have 1/4 and 8 notes, just print out the 1/4 and 8 notes. If you want to use it with your older kids and use all the fancy rhythms and use bar lines and all those kind of things, you can do that too. So we're gonna do that next week. I'm hoping it's gonna be like a chill thing. I've used it before as a center. This time we're gonna do it as a craft. And so they're going to get their turkey, they're gonna get their feathers, they're gonna glue them down to a piece of paper, and they're gonna color. And I'm hoping my 4th graders are pretty good, so I'm hoping that we'll be pretty successful and it'll be hopefully a pretty chill time, because I was looking for somebody to have a chill lesson next week and they were the ones who won out. So hopefully that goes pretty well. Now let's get into what 4th grade used last week. My 4th graders last week were doing, oh no, I forgot to grab something. Okay, well, I'll have to show you without it. Last week my 4th graders were working on this pumpkin sorting game. So what this is there's a whole bunch of pumpkins and they all have different numbers of beats on them. And then there are pumpkin patches, and the little sign in the pumpkin patch has different time signatures. The idea is that you sort the rhythms onto the correct board with the correct time signature. So 4th grade was doing that last week to practice beats, time signature, meter, that kind of stuff. And that was really good. I also did it with my 5th graders. I had one class that's on lockdown, which means they're not allowed to leave their class except for recess, like away from everybody else. They have to eat lunch in the class, can't go to special, like that kind of stuff. And so I needed something that I could take to them pretty easily. And so I actually took these and I had them just on a piece of paper. They made like a chart and they put 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, and then they just copied the rhythms onto where they went on the chart, and that worked out pretty well. I also have a turkey version of this one, which is really fun. You add the feathers to the turkeys, but I had this one already printed out from Halloween, like, you know, fall Halloween time, so I haven't printed out the turkeys yet, but maybe we'll do that next week. We shall see. Now this week, 4th grade is double dipping, so they're also doing the meter composition activity. They're also doing the, ooh, gracious. They're also doing the Thanksgiving dinner game, but they are also doing this game, which is called Rhythm War. Now, this game is modeled after the actual Game of War, which is a card game that is pretty popular. A lot of my kids actually were like, oh, I've played that before. And so they've been really enjoying doing the rhythm version of it. What happens is you take the deck and you split it evenly among all of the different students. They hold them just like this, and then usually they like to count on 3, but you flip over the top cards, everybody. Whoever has the most beats on their card is the winner, and they take all of the cards, they add them to the bottom of their pile, and then you keep flipping, and eventually what happens if you play long enough is one person will end up with all of the cards and everybody else will run out, because eventually someone just ends up with everything. We haven't gotten to that in the 8 minutes that we're playing the game, especially because they have to sort through the cards and, you know, give them to everybody. But the kids have been really loving this, and it's a really good way for them to practice adding together beats and thinking in terms of how many beats each of the different rhythms get. It's been really, really good. This set that we're using is level 2. There's also a level 1 in my TBT shop. Level 1, every card only has 1 rhythm, so it'll have like a quarter note or a half note or a whole note. This one has multiple rhythms together, so you have to add them together, so it's a little more difficult, but I like that because it's more, you know, real, like what we do with music. So I've been really enjoying that. So they have loved that one. I also have like a dynamics version and a treble clef version and a bass clef version. So I'll link all the things down below for you. All right, now that was my older kids. My 3rd graders are working on instruments of the orchestra. They're working on like this whole sound project with recycled stuff. We're not talking about them. 2nd grade is currently working on getting ready for their performance next week. Kindergarten is currently just working on high and low. They're not using any like this kind of manipulative kind of stuff. But 1st grade is starting to work on rhythm. So this week what we did is up on the board, we made some rhythms with the words rain and lightning. We learned the song Rain, Rain, Go Away. We also listened to the song by, oh, what's his name? Johnny Cash, called 5 Feet High and Rising, which is about floods. So we did that, and then we did the Rain Rain song. And then we are making rhythms out of rain and lightning. I believe these are in my Rain Rain Go Away pack, although I think your lightning has 2 lightning bolts, because I realized that after I made these, I was like, oh, that was dumb. And then I also have weather rhythms, which is like a separate one that has a whole bunch of different weather things, so I will link both those down below. But what we've been doing is they just get a board that has 8 heartbeats, and then they have to create their rhythm with rain and lightning, and then they read and clap it. And while they do this, I've been walking around. So we did it first on the board, like digitally, and then we did it where you got your 8 cards and you know, made whatever pattern you want and you clapped. And I go around with my iPad and I check off who is correctly clapping those rhythms, specifically looking at who can get 2 claps on lightning, because it's 2 sounds. Because even though we do it like together and we echo back and forth, as soon as they sit down, they're like, rain, lightning, rain. And I'm like, no, no, no. Rain, lightning, rain, rain. And so getting them into that habit is kind of like the goal of this. Now, next week, what we're going to be doing is kind of taking this up a step, and they're going to be, we're a STEAM school, so in their little STEAM journals, they're going to create their own weather rhythms with different weather items. So we'll go through lots of different ones they can use on the board, like snow, hurricane was a popular one last time we did this activity, tornado, and so different things like that. And then they'll have to write their own, so basically like this, but they'll either draw a picture or write the words. Either one's fine with me, and then clap them. So that's what's like our next step, just working on like clapping syllables of words, basically, is what we're after. So that's a way that I do that with 1st grade, and they either are working individually or with a partner. For that, we aren't doing like proper centers yet, but maybe we'll get there. We'll see. No promises. I do prefer centers with the older kids because they're just a little bit more independent, so they don't need as much help. So with the younger kids, it's easier to have everyone doing the same thing so that you can go and help. But with the older kids, love a good center. So those are a couple of things that we're using in my class this month, and I just thought I would share so that you can see, you know, some realistic things. I am also, by the way, going to be using, oh no, don't put that in there. I'm going to switch it up in a second. I would love to know what you're using in your class this month, so let us know in the comments what those things are. I will leave these things linked down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.